This is our third night bite focused on feedback. With this specific one, we're going to focus on peer and self-assessments and creating a classroom of coaches. Again, one of the references is this book, Coaching Your Classroom. The first thing is training the coaches. So the learners, when they become ones who share feedback and construct feedback, they become coaches. So to help students turn into coaches, there are specific things to have in place. You want to make sure the students are ready for feedback. Students will not be able to accurately self and peer assess without a partial proficiency of the standard. And feedback should be a core part of the classroom before students are able to handle the sharing feedback with others and reflecting on their own learning. There are 4 different ideas to create a feedback cultivating environment. The first is modeling feedback. So share an exemplar with the students and you can model feedback in many ways. One way is to have posters or a digital place for them to place comments based on a rubric or something as simple as strengths, suggestions, and next steps. You can have them also look at a piece of work and answer these questions. Maybe grow and glow is something you've used and you want to continue, or you can use vocabulary such as strength and next steps. Depending on the grade level and comfort level, have the students share with groups or do the work individually, and then connect as a whole group to look at the feedback and share examples of that feedback. Depending on how the feedback is done, you can create a feedback list the students have access to when they are completing a learning target or standard. The other thing you can do is matching feedback. So share all the feedback maybe given on a standard for an assignment and have the students match exemplars with the feedback. This can be done with student papers in class, student papers of another class, or general exemplars as they get used to looking over and reflecting on the feedback. This will lead to discussions that not only model how to construct the feedback to the students, but it also strengthens their understanding of the standards. Next is setting up the classroom. So you can do something like this poster for students to refer back to throughout the year as they share feedback with others and look at their own feedback. In addition, making sure to set the tone at the beginning of the year about feedback and the importance it has on the classroom. One way to do this is by sharing something like this here in a syllabus, beginning of year newsletter, communication, just an email, and feel free to pause here if you'd like to utilize something like this. Next is feedback using tech. There are many ways to share feedback and co-construct feedback in digital platforms such as Google and Canvas. Another way is something called Padlet. Students can add pictures, videos, comments, their own responses draw digitally, can be used for math problems, something like that. This gives flexibility in using it for different content areas, since students can include a picture of a math problem, a piece of art, they can record their screen, asking questions or seeking specific feedback and posting it. Different ideas for Padlet is having a place for students to give teacher feedback. You can have students give each other feedback using it. It can be used as a board of exemplar feedback that they can reference back to. Maybe you have one that's specific to narrative writing and you want to have a place for that. You can also have students turn an assignment, give feedback, show all of this teacher feedback and post it so that the students can reflect and then resubmit theirs for comments. Another way you can use Padlet is having something set up like this, having an exemplar that you've shared with the students, and then having a column of strengths, areas of improvement, and next steps. And the students can then click the plus sign to add specific feedback to each of those columns. Students can also use programs like Seesaw and Flipgrid. They can create video reflections for self-assessment, and the teacher can comment by typing as well as recording audio, as you can see here, those options for students to reflect on. You can even use the drag and drop feature to have students match up feedback with exemplars as well. The next thing to look at is once feedback has been practiced and has a role in the classroom, you can move on to self and peer assessment. So notice here, there's a focus on the learning target, and this is student created. And this is something that can change based on the grade level. Maybe you want to input that for the students, but if they are able to, that is something they can do on their own. Another example here is of a rubric and self-assessing by highlighting, circling, and writing their next steps. With peer assessment, you can see that it says coach and student. So notice that instead of peer, it's coach, because they're trying to coach them through This is another way to change the culture to one that cultivates feedback-focused learners. The learning target is also here with the 3 important steps again, with the learning target, strength, improvement, and next step. This is another one, and these examples will be linked to the Knight Bites feedback doc. If you have any questions or need support implementing any of these ideas into your own classroom or feedback questions in general, please reach out to your instructional coaches. We'll be happy to help and support in any way. Thank you so much for listening.